วัสดีครับผมเดียวนะครับวันนี้นะครับเรามีโอกาสที่ดีอีกแล้วครับได้สัมภาษณ์คุณอูฟและคุณอิลิกวาคิเนียสนะครับเนี่ยพบกับเขาทั้งคู่เลยแล้วกันครับหลังจากเราไม่เจอกันนาน Hello Ulf and Ilik
Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
How do you do
Good.
Fine. We're very happy to meet you again.
Okay
Yes.
You saved us.
Okay let's start the first question you tour around the world have you any problem about tour concerts or
Problems?
yes problem about different place
Yeah. I mean, when you tour, it always things happens. It's a part of touring. That things will happen, and I think it's a couple of things you can think about. It's how you approach it. When problems occur, if you approach it the right way, you can always solve it. And then I think also, I mean, in the end, you have to know what's really important to focus on. So, for instance, for us today, we had a little problem with the PA system, and then you guys came like two angels flying in to fix it in 10 seconds. But you have to. I think it's very important to have things fixed before you go up and do the show, because if you have technical problems during the show, it's not manageable. Then I think you agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah this is a big problem
It could be. So yeah.
It causes the effect of people are thinking about the problems, you know what I mean? And not about the music. They think about the technical problems.
yeah
So
Okay.
That's a good thing. They focus on
So
actually
one
the problem.
focus. Yeah.
So you can play the best solo you played in your whole life.
But they're gonna think when it's if he's playing a great solo, and they know that the PA system is not really working. They're gonna wait for the next bah.
Okay.
Yes.
Like a horror movie.
Yes, like he's playing beautiful, and they're like, ready to the.
When is the ghost coming?
For the next bang,
be careful be careful
Yes.
Exactly. Scary movie.
Okay. Next question about your playing guitar. What did you practice at the moment?
Yeah, I think at the moment, I mean, like this. When you play now, we're playing acoustic guitar, and acoustic guitar is kind of a beast, It's like electric. It's another story, and it doesn't work the same way. You have to really approach acoustic guitar. It's like you say, wood and steel, and it's very natural.
Yes.
And the sound is very, you have to really dig out the sound, So when you play acoustic, you go into this mood,
Yes. It's very honest. So it's you can see you display all your your best and your worst sides at the same time, kind of. And electric guitar is more like plug in and go for it.
You can imagine, for instance, like just a mind trick, you take Alan Holsworth, and you take away the electric and you give him an acoustic guitar. Play it.
Different story.
Different story.
Sorry.
You will hear a very different Alan Holsworth. I don't say bad or good.
No.
I just say you will hear
It's
a
a
very
different-
a very different Alan Holsworth.
This is very
You know
interesting.
what I mean?
This is very interesting when you have when you see players play electric and then acoustic, and then players that do the both. It's really interesting.
Okay. Next questions about how did you practice? How did you practice good phrasing in improvisation?
Yeah, I mean, I think how do you good phrasing? I think it comes down to what style, what instrument. Are you talking electric or are you talking acoustic? It's completely different worlds. What works on an electric guitar don't work on acoustic. You can't play legato on acoustic. So it's different. Since we're playing acoustic now, it's very good to speak about the both worlds, because also phrasing, when you have a warm electric sound, phrasing comes easy. When you have acoustic guitar, you work with completely different set of rules, you know.
Yes.
But at the same time, in my world, the reward is fantastic on an acoustic guitar, while on an electric guitar, after a while, the ear shuts down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So for instance, if you have the most beautiful distortion sound or the most beautiful jazz sound, you know,
Yes.
after a while, the ear shuts down. It's like honey or like cream, you know, coming out the speakers.
Yes.
But acoustic guitar is more like a grand piano or something. It's more little more harsh, but at the same time much more different colors. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I see it. So phrasing is it's different on different.
And also when you play distortion and overdrive, you need to, when you phrase, the notes need to be more separated, need more intervals, and that doesn't work the same way on acoustic. It's more a chromatic approach. So that is a big difference for me, to go from the distortion to the acoustic, from distortion to clean. Yeah.
Also very interesting is, you know, Eric went to Los Angeles. Yeah, so the thing is, for instance, very interesting, we talk about Eric started with Scott Henderson, and what is very interesting, for instance, I think when we speak about different styles, in the style of, you know, distorted guitar coming out of, you know, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Scofield and stuff like that. I think Scott Henderson has a fantastic phrasing when it comes to distortion.
Yes.
Completely mind-blowing phrasing.
Yes.
But when you cut out the distortion, his phrasing doesn't work so good on clean sound. It's different worlds.
Yeah.
Different rules.
Different rules, worlds. So how you have to phrase when you have distortion
Yes.
doesn't work on clean sound. So it's very interesting.
Yes, yes.
And if you take it to the acoustic guitar, it's on the other side of Abbey Road.
Okay.
Yes.
Then you go from Scott Henderson distortion, Scott Henderson clean, like, and then you go like
Scott Henderson unplugged.
No, Scott Henderson arch top.
Yes.
But he doesn't play that. And then you go to
Yes, all the way.
to acoustic
Yes.
guitar. So acoustic guitar is on the other side.
Yes.
And he on the complete other side is Alan Holdsworth.
Okay.
That's just to get a, you know.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Completely true. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. So many jazz players don't get, maybe don't understand about layback feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you can you advise? Have you
Yeah.
any advice?
Yeah, if you ask me, I don't put emphasis especially on layback because I think rhythm is like life, you know. It's like this. So for instance, if I have a guy I speak to, we talk about how you speak instead of music. If he go like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it becomes like boring.
Yes.
Come on, show some fire.
Yes.
Say something, you know.
Yes.
And that's the same in music. Music has to, for me, since I love all the style from laid back playing to
Yes.
flamenco to, or if you talk about Brazilian music, it's like it goes like this, you know.
Yes.
Like a pendulum, you know, rhythmically. So for me, it's all about rhythm, you know. And if you talk about, for instance, one of the greatest time players of all, you know, of all time is Miles Davis. How he played, you know, and he can play completely, fantastically laid back, you know, on for instance, like So What, you know, this period when they play that, you know. And then you have when he play on Four and More, you know, with Tony Williams and Herbie Hancock, you know, and he play like very fiery, you know. He has the whole rainbow of different time. That's what I like, you know. I like it when you have the whole all colors, you know.
Yeah, like you have Wes Montgomery's playing his style and Pat Martino, John McLaughlin.
Exactly.
It's very different rhythmic.
Exactly. And also, you know, like if you hear the greatest rhythm players for me and time players is like, you know, Pat Martino, and then you have Schofield. He's
Yes.
kind of laid back, but at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, it's laid back, but at the same time, it's moving forward. You know what I mean?
yes.
It's not standing still, you know. And then you have, as we said, Scott Henderson, fantastic timing, you know, amazing. And you have George Benson, the old, I mean, before, you know, and now he's getting old, but I mean, he can still play, but when he was young, it was natural timing, you know, flow. Wes Montgomery, fantastic timing, you know, so I think they all the players have this timing that moves back and forth, you know.
Some are laid back and some are not. You know,
Exactly.
It's just different styles.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Next question. So many jazz students don't understand in bebop.
Yeah.
Phrasing, do you have any advice how to play the right phrasing in bebop?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, I mean, bebop is all jazz colors is different languages, you know. So for me, I wouldn't say, you know, as we talked about also many times, I wouldn't advise anybody to play strictly in bebop phrasing. You know what I mean? Because strictly bebop phrasing is like a lot of try, you know, and that sounds for me a little dated. So I would you know, advise people to mix it up. You can have a little bebop phrasing, which could be very nice, you know, and then you can have a little, you know, more modern, you know. You can have from different eras in jazz, and you mix it, you know, and out comes a quite attractive style, you know. So I wouldn't emphasize on because if you should talk about real bebop. You have to listen to Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. That's the architects of bebop, and every time I hear Charlie Parker, he's also one of the who had the best timing of all musicians in jazz ever. He can like turn a phrase upside down 10 times, you know. But it's also a very rooted language in that time because it's of the rhythmical motifs, you know. Some what I would say as an answer is you can practice bebop. If you should practice bebop, you should listen to Charlie Parker. Definitely.
You should listen Charlie Parker.
Yeah, go to the
Exactly.
source, you know, because that is he's a genius, you know, and he and the thing is also when I studied, you know, bebop before, you know, I realized that every player that came after Charlie Parker, guitar players, different like tenor players, piano, they all played the exactly same phrases on different instruments. They all did what Charlie Parker did.
Yes.
You know, that's how strong his influence was. So when you hear like, you know, a lot of guitar players from that era, they just try to play Charlie Parker on guitar, you know, which is for me it's fantastic, but it sounds very rooted in the 50s for me. So to sound a little more contemporary, I think you should mix it up, you know. So
Okay. Anything else?
No, I agree.
Okay, I agree.
Yes, that's all.
Okay, you always play pentatonic in your improvisation.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you have the way to connect pentatonic?
Yeah, I mean it's also I think both for me and Eric, we for instance when Eric studied with Scott Henderson, Scott is a big fan of Weather Report. So I know you practice on Havana, for instance. You can talk about that.
Well, and it's not really. You use the pentatonics there, but it's more about instead of playing 2-5-1s and the classic jazz style, it's more the fusion. You just move around major chords like that, and when you use the pentatonics on that, you can how to connect that is more of a you have to find a pattern in that tune and just keep practicing it. It's not like Autumn Leaves where you have a pattern that fits a lot of other tunes. But so in fusion and weather report tunes, it's more important to really get to know the tune and to find the pattern of the pentatonics and find if it's for instance Havona, it's more the major pentatonic sound and how to get the most out of that. So just go for the chord pentatonic and just find the pattern.
No, because you used to practice that a lot.
Yes.
When you lived in Los Angeles.
Yes, and jazz doesn't work there really, because
it's a different language.
Yes, because you just move around chords,
Yeah.
you know, the same chords, and you have to. It's a modulation all the time, so you have to. It's a different style of, and when you put that into jazz, it's really cool. And I think Michael Brecker did that a lot.
Exactly. Joe Zawinul.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Zawinul. So,
But you know, this is very interesting.
Yes.
I just want to come with a little thing. We just talked about bebop, you know, and if we talk about this tune Havona, it was Havona you were practicing, right?
This tune Havona.
Yes.
Weather report. So this is interesting. If you use the Charlie Parker language on that tune, it will sound super square.
Yes.
Because if you play you know, it will sound very strange on that kind of playing. You can't do that. So it's really the right thing at the right moment, you know.
And that is interesting with Scott, because his tone, his sound, his phrasing and his rhythm is so perfect for the weather report style fusion. So and that's so when you and it's never acoustic like that we talked about earlier. So when you hear that type, that is the Joe Zawinul sound, electric keyboard, it's perfect with his guitar style.
Okay.
And if you want to study the use of pentatonics, you can study partly Scott. He's an expert on that.
Yes.
You can study, of course, Schofield and Joe Zawinul. He's a genius.
Oh, yes.
Because he can play very simple pentatonics, but how he do it, you know, is really mind blowing. You know.
And how about Wayne Shorter?
Wayne Shorter, of course.
Yes.
Same.
Yes,
Master.
absolutely. Yes.
He's a genius in my book, you know. Geniuses, you know.
Yep.
Okay, next question about how to practice for a good articulation in jazz. This is a big problem for jazz students.
I think it's really, you know, articulation is about partly. It's of course it's time, you know, your time feel, you and how you really sculpture and get into the music, you know. And I think to articulate good is to relax, feel comfortable, and it's like when you have a nice chat, you talk with the person, you feel good, you're in a good mood, you talk, you know, you have a flow, you know. It's the same in music, you know. Articulation comes from a command of your sound, command of. It's very hard to, if you have a rhythm section you're not comfortable with, it's very hard to articulate good. If you have you know, if you ask me, it comes out of many different things that could you know how should I express it? I'm looking for the words, you know. But
okay.
You know what I mean. If you have a good rhythm section, really swinging rhythm section, it's easy to articulate. If the rhythm section are not so good, it's very hard. You struggle. You know what I mean? So it's the circumstances around you really affects your playing, you know, and how you're. I mean,
yes, but this is really interesting because this makes a world of difference when you play a distortion and a type in jazz, like Larry Carlton. His style is built on how he articulates the tone. So when you listen to early Steely Dan and stuff like that, how he can have a clean tone, but how he articulates the tone, it blooms, and he built a style on that, and many people after him, and that's the style I choose to walk. And when you play jazz that way, it's more lyrical. You try to, it's like you're singing the notes and then you incorporate that into the chords and the licks and whatever. So it's very important for the overdrive electric guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clear. Okay, next question. How did you make yourselves relax when you play in a fast tempo or slow tempo? The fast tempo like a bebop or
Yeah, it's also I think it comes down to many things. You know, when you're relaxing, relax. You have to have command to relax, and you have to have a sound. You have to have the circumstances around you. We come back to that. So to have a command of a fast. For instance, when I play with Oscar Peterson, sometimes it was really fast tempos.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and it's like we didn't. I play like chase chorus with him, you know, without drums and bass, just guitar. I have to play myself in the air, you know, and he answer and me. So that's. I think one thing is you can't operate out of fear. If you have fear or you're nervous, that won't work, you know, because you will really, you know, lose your. It's a lot about focus. It's about don't be fearful, you know. You have to have command of your instrument. It's synchronization between fingers and about plectrum and fingering, you know. See, it's many factors that moves around, you know, and always focus, you know. But if you don't not synchronized between your picking and your left hand, you know, you can never keep up. So it has to be a flow when you do it, you know. And certain people, it's like they say the expression, life always finds a way. So it's not one solution. Players find ways to play fast, slow. Certain players avoid to play fast. Some people like to play fast. It's just a matter of, you know, choice, you know, and what situation you come into, you know. So for me, when I play with Oscar Peterson, he was known to play. I came out of that era, you know. So you had to keep up with that, you know. It was the language, you know. So.
But I have to say what I love, one of many things, but one I really love about your playing and your style when you play is that when I hear you on a really slow tempo, how you manage to keep it exciting. And you told me many times to practice very in slow, awkward tempos, and really how to stretch the notes, how to make them count. You told me, and this is something good to tell everybody. You know,
exactly.
To make,
very good point.
Because
if
you when I listen to you and I hear some tune where it's a really slow, almost awkward tempo, and how you can manage the rhythm, stretch the note and the rhythm and all that. That is really you have to. And I asked you how do you do that many years ago, and you told me just practice slow, stretch the notes, stretch the rhythm.
Yeah, very good.
And do it over and over again.
That's a really good point,
yes.
Because we talked about I would say what Eric bring up. This hardest thing to play is to play slow tempo.
Yes.
It's not because always you have certain things guitar players always run into.
Yes.
And they always run into, you know, playing fast, and they run into thinking about what voicing they are playing and what chords instead of thinking music.
Yes.
They obsessed with their own voicings, and I think like, come on, communicate with the group, play music.
Yes.
But what you brought up is very important because the hardest thing for a guitar player to play is slow tempos and those in between tempos where you feel when it starts, where should I go?
Yes.
Because it's like sometimes when Oscar Peterson played, he could play those in between slow tempos.
Yes.
And you think when you start the tune, it's no way to go, you know.
No.
But slowly it takes life.
Yes.
Because you dig in and you really dig in your soul, you know, and you bring out the music, you know. So that's I think if I should give advice, a really important advice to all guitar players, it's really play slow tempos and make it happen. Because it's very easy that when you play a slow tempo, that it's just stand still, nothing happens. You have to create an drama in this slow tempo, and that's really hard.
Yeah,
that's the real hard.
Create the moments with the rhythm and the notes. Yeah.
That's a real challenge, I think, for all guitar players, you know.
Yes.
And it's also it hangs together with everything we talked about. Articulation, everything. If you should learn articulation, you have to learn to play the phrases very slow.
Yes.
If you always play fast, you know, the phrase will never stick.
No.
So it's like some phrases, when you take down the speed, you suddenly realize you can't play it.
Yes.
Oh shit, I don't know this phrase.
Exactly.
Because you used to play it. You take it down and you have to really rethink it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice to all guitar players. Practice real slow.
Yes.
Practice very
Really
slow.
slow.
Yes.
Very slow.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Can you give me some advice how to practice dynamic and space?
Yeah, okay. I think also dynamic and space, like if we talk about you, I mean, it sticks together with time. It always comes down to dynamic and space. It has to do with the foundation, which is time, your timing.
Yes.
You know, time. And if you have, like you have a natural time, and something, but it's true. And some things you can't practice, you know, you really, it's like you have it has to come from somewhere inside, you know. And I think, since a guitar player don't have the natural breathing thing, which many instruments has, you know, they have to breathe, you know, which gives a space, you know. We can keep on, you know, non-stop, you know. So we have to be conscious about. So I think space has to do with relaxing and listen. So if you listen to what's going on around you, you have to take a break. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So back to conversation. If you talk all the time, you can't hear what the others say. So it's about listening. I think listening.
Yes,
is very
yes.
important.
Listening.
Yeah.
This is the key
Good
word.
answer. Yeah.
I don't know what you
I
think.
agree. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Next question about jazz student. In your opinion, what is the obstacle for jazz student in study and jazz?
What is a common obstacle to get over, maybe, or to challenge? Some common in jazz, some common challenge. I mean, it is what we talked about. I think this is the main thing: to relax and to slow things down. Is the if you can manage to do that, you can get through a lot.
Maybe like some student lovely to copy other artists.
Yes.
Like this.
Now, I think, you know, it's a couple of things. I think first of all, you know, if you talk obstacles, I think you should turn it around and say, I mean, from the beginning, music must be passion and joy. So it must be like, it's like when you try to get, you know, a young cat to play like classical piano, and he want to play rock and roll, you know, he will never succeed because it's so boring, you know. So what I'm aiming at is like, you have to have this, what should I say, like you had with Scott Henderson, and this awakening, and I had with, you know, many other people, you know, like, for me it was Wes Montgomery, John McLaughlin, many different people, you know, and I think, so first you have to, your force have to be joy and love for the thing you're doing, you know. So it's not like obstacles, it has to be, you know, like more things you just, you know, you jump over them, you know. So, and but obstacles I think sometimes could be that you get stuck in copying people, you know.
Yes.
So you forget about yourself, you know.
Yes.
Because what I always tell people around the world is like everybody has a unique fingerprint.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody's unique.
I love this.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you
Okay.
don't, and if you don't work on your fingerprint, you know, you will always cover it with gloves. Other you know, you're copying people so much, so you cover your own identity, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very, and it's, for instance, we talk a lot about that.
Yes.
For instance, like John Scofield, he said like, I tried to play like Pat Martino. I loved him, you know, it was fantastic, but I can never do it. Because I could never get that technique, you know, I can never get that picking technique. And he joked about himself, you know, like,
turn that to his strength.
Exactly, and he said like, I'm too bad, you know, I can't play like, but I turned it in to myself, you know.
His strength.
And he say like, I prefer to be a bad John Scofield than a great Pat Martino clone, you know.
Okay.
Which is, he turned that thing, which was a weakness, to a strength.
Yeah, and then it became a great
John Scofield.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, so if you had like an almost as good Pat Martino, no value, because there will never be another Pat Martino, there will never be another George Benson, never another Wes Montgomery, but you got John Scofield, which played more legato, he had his problems became his strength, you know. So this is important. So out of his frustration, it was a frustration, you know. He wanted to play like that, doesn't work like this. He found the distortion, the rat pedal, and he introduced distortion into a jazz quartet.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you can play a standard tune with distortion without being Jimmy Page
Now
or
everybody,
Jimi Hendrix.
now everybody does that.
Now it's a word. Now everybody in the whole world does it.
Yeah.
So that was his great invention, you know, out of frustration, which is beautiful. That's how Wes Montgomery came about, because he couldn't play with pick because it was too loud, and the neighbors was like, turn down, okay. Started with the thumb. Out came that warm sound that everybody loved. So everything comes out of.
It is very tempting to just copy someone like George Benson that has worked on a lick or phrasing for many years and perfected it. But it's more painful to go your own way, to create and stand up for your own voice. You know what I mean? But also important.
Exactly.
It's more. But also what is
Painful.
very important that we talked about is that incorporate your heritage. You're from Thailand. You have your king with beautiful music and great music, and to incorporate that into jazz standards would be amazing to hear, I think. Yeah.
But that's you said another very important thing. This would be a long interview.
Yeah.
You said a very interesting thing, which I want to pick up on.
Yes.
And it's if you know this expression in English, easy come, easy go. So if things comes too easy to you, you should like wow, watch out, because because out of all great new things in music comes out of pain.
Yes.
It doesn't come out of easy, you know. People have gone through many things and I think Scofield is a perfect example of that, you know. Agony of going through, you know, and realize I can never be a new Pat Martino, and the world is having a great John Scofield, for instance.
Yes.
And that is really.
And now people are doing the same with him. They can never become a great John Scofield, so they have to go their own way. And this is gonna.
So then they become Kurt Rosenwinkel.
Yes.
And then
and then
you have his children.
It's true, yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it's gonna be like this.
Yeah, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And you have like, if we talk about Kurt Rosenwinkel, it's not that he tried to be like John Scofield, or he's more Pat Metheny oriented, but he also was like trying to find something new. Have to find something. I can't sound exactly like Pat. I can't sound like, so out comes something else, you know, and another sound. And now you have even Now you have even what I call, you know, the children of Kurt Rosenwinkel. You have young players coming out of him. You know, completely new generation. You know, so it's really interesting.
And also you have in between Pentatonix, Kurt, and Schofield, you have Jonathan Kreisberg. They use this.
Nobody comes out of
Kurt.
Kurt Rosenwinkel.
Oh yeah.
He's like one of this what I call children.
Oh yeah.
He's the generation
and
after.
He uses a distortion pedal that you can't detect. So it's an even new thing there.
But they all look for they try to find their own sound, you know.
Do you have any advice or say something to Thai fans about your album? Or
a couple of things, you know. I just want to say one good advice for all guitar players of all cultures, and that is, I think the way to go to find your own fingerprint is to be respectful and proud of your own culture.
Yes.
So if you're a Thai guitar player, always honor your culture. Maybe play one of your king songs. Honor the thing, you know. Be proud to be Thai. For me, I'm very proud to be Swedish. You know?
Yes.
We have beautiful folk music in Sweden. Fantastic.
Yep.
So I think the best way to find your own identity is to be true to your roots.
Yes.
That's how I see it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I can say also that the important thing for young students to know, when I have the chance to play with my dad, that's also really is my hero. I think he's absolutely the best. And for me is the vibe he always gives. Always the encouraging, you know, go for it vibe takes away all the needs and have to do things. So it's always a joy. It's always been a joy to go up with him and play anything in any situations through any speaker. You know what I mean? Because the vibe is, as he said, it's driven by joy, not fear. So that's the most important thing. If you ask me, lead your way with joy. Don't think about, oh shit, this and this. Think about this, you know, and this. And someone says, oh, but this and this. No, this. So that's the spirit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ulf.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
โอเคนะครับ นี่คือบทสัมภาษณ์ของคุณพ่อและคุณลูกนะครับ ที่ยอดฝีมือของโลกนะครับ พบกับกีตาร์ไทยนะครับในเทปต่อไปว่าเราจะสัมภาษณ์ใครนะครับเทปนี้เราต้องขอบพระคุณโรงแรมมิลเลนเนียมฮิลตันนะครับสำหรับสถานที่สวยๆนะครับแล้วก็ที่ขาดไม่ได้เลยคือ Hitman Jazz นะครับพบกันใหม่ในเทปต่อไปครับสวัสดีครับ
Thank No good sleep.
Yes.